Looking for a small speaker that does really clear vocals and a sweet mid-range? Stay tuned, I got one for you. Hi everyone, Mark from Audio Pursuit, where I review gear for small spaces. And I'd like to talk to you about the Vanguard Scout. This little diminutive monitor, it's a little big to be considered a mini monitor, but small compared to a standard monitor. But what it does for $299 a pair is just stunning. The Scouts do come with a full front grille, but like most people, I play them without. But if you have a small child or a furry friend, then they work just fine. Now, what you have here is just a hair short of a 1-inch silk dome tweeter and a 5 1/4 inch treated paper cone driver. The cabinet is 3/4 MDF with a true rosewood veneer, and as you can see, it's in kind of this low sheen satin style finish, and it is extremely good looking, and it actually does blend well with other woods because of that low sheen. As you can see on the back side, you have a little port here and a single set of binding posts. Originally, the Vanguard Scouts were to be paired with this, the Vera-Fi Audio's Vera-Link Bluetooth amplifier at 50 watts per channel. And these are wireless, so they just attach to the back. You set up the Bluetooth from your phone, and away you go. And if you look back, you'll see my review on them. Phenomenal. They won my Tesla award. Didn't take long in hearing this pairing that I realized that the Scouts offered something more. That really, they are designed to go beyond Bluetooth amplification. And that's where the fun begins. I started off with pairing them with this, the Vista Audio Spark integrated amplifier. This little neat thing has a built-in power supply and sounds like old school Pioneer amplifiers of the Woodsides, the Kenwoods, the Marantzes, that kind of sound quality with a little bit more brightness. At 30 watts per channel, the Scouts sounded absolutely terrific with them, no matter what recording I played. The combination was just, it was warm. It had some lusciousness, it had some solid imaging, and a little bit more bass than what it's actually rated for. After just a few songs with the Spark, I realized that the Scouts had something special going for them. And so I began pulling out other amplifiers, and each night I listened to a different amplifier. And in the end, I listened to 8 different models, from the PS Audio Sprout, the original, all the way on up to the Emerald Physics EP602 SE. The only amplifier that really didn't deliver the goods was the Sprout. Every single amplifier I played with the Scouts, I heard the same thing. A mid-range that was natural, slightly warm, and some excellent clarity in both male and female vocals, piano, acoustic guitar, the instruments that you want to hear clearly. The Scouts do that very well. Matter of fact, well beyond other speakers at this price point that I have heard. The top end, it's not bright to fool you. It doesn't have a bump from, let's say, 7 kilohertz on up. No, it stays relatively stable. Now, I don't have the machinery to do the scientific testing. I'd love to see somebody like Aaron from Aaron Audio Corner test these out with his Kipple machine, but it doesn't take a machine to allow you to hear how distinct and clear vocals are. It just is something that's inherent in this. And without that high frequency bump, they stay clear and not sharp, not fuzzy to give that sparkle. They're just natural. In many ways, they're a very organic loudspeaker. Let's talk about some music. Joni Mitchell. Now, Joni has this incredible, unique voice. You can tell it's her immediately. There's no wavering on it. And the Scouts pick that up. And this is where we need to thank people like Andrew Jones, Danny Ritchie, for really challenging the market, probably starting about 15 years ago, to say that, hey, budget speakers can sound decent. They aren't just there to make a buck, where you just slap things in, you don't care what the measurements are, just put it together, put it in the box, sell it, and take the cash. No. They've changed things. And because of that, people like Dr. Viet Nguyen, who designed these, really see the value in giving the individual the most bang for the buck. As I went through the various amplifiers, and I ran the same songs through all 8, what paired up best? Well, honestly, because the Scouts are kind of a chameleon, they sounded good with everything. I liked them with Class D. I especially appreciated how they worked with the Peachtree Carina GAN. Oh, amazing combination there, especially with the digital direct capability of that amplifier with vacuum tubes. My Vista i34 integrated amplifier, made by the same company as the little Spark. You know, it comes out of Serbia, and you get that warmth, of course, but you still get the detail and the clarity. Yes, you get a little bit of that harmonics that vacuum tubes are famous for. Adcom 545 too. So for a vintage amplifier, works well there as well. Kind of, you know, you get a little bit of that fuzz, because this is vintage, out of the 545 too. But it still gives you plenty of clarity, and you get that famous little bass bump that exists. And finally, with that Emerald Physics 602 SE, that's 600 watts a channel of Class D, plus a couple of vacuum tubes that they put into the signal path before it's amplified. These speakers just jumped and ate it up. Really, my ears in my small space, which is 11 by 10, gave out well before these did. Let's talk caveats, or in this case, budget realities. At $299 a pair, you can't have everything. And if you look at the crossover, you're going to see some good quality parts. There's some foil capacitors. There's also an iron core inductor. Do I wish it was an air coil inductor? Yes, but understand, we're dealing with some realities here. The key is that when you listen to it, the parts that are put in execute extremely well and gives a sound that really belies its price point. The other thing to understand is that when we're dealing with a budget speaker, is that the compromises that need to be made. In the case of the Scouts, it is the fact not be all things to all people, and that's important, because when you hear speakers that do that in the budget realm, they're just a mess. They don't do anything well. They sound hazy, sharp sometimes. Maybe they have some points where it sounds a little flat, congested. Just problems abound. Instead, this speaker, by its physical limitations, can only do certain things. So let's do those as well as can be done for their size. And that means not having the absolute widest soundstage. Not having a fake thumpy bass. Now I say that, but I will say that there is more bass response, once again, than one can expect. If you have a bigger room, or if you're working with a little home theater for occasionally watching the movies with the family, get a little subwoofer. They have the Caldera from Vanguard that matches up really well. Unfortunately, I didn't have that in time for the review, so I hooked up my own little Totem Dreamcatcher sub with a 6.5-inch woofer, and in my small space, or when I brought it out to watch a movie, there was plenty of bass, and of course, it makes the overall sound better. And the best part is, in a home theater setup, because of the clarity of the vocals, you get clarity of dialogue. In that mid-range, dialogue is very good. The other thing you notice when you hook up a subwoofer with the Scouts is that, of course, it enriches the room. It sounds deeper, chestier. Depth is just greater. And yet, there comes that separate space across for the mid-range and the natural upper frequencies. Like I said, it isn't bumped artificially. You don't get a lot of hiss or, that sparkly fuzz. No. But you do hear pleasantness. The final caveat is that you need to understand is that you need to turn them up a bit more. At 84.5 dB, they're not the most efficient. Don't get discouraged. Turn up the volume a bit more. You'll hear them, and it will balance out, and then you'll say, okay, I get it. About halfway through the review, I got in a pair of KEF Q150s. Now, the KEFs are extremely popular, and when they're on sale, between $299 to $349 for the pair, they go like hotcakes. One, they throw a big, wide soundstage. Definitely wider than the Scouts. They have an open, sparkly top end, and they have more bass thump. But here is something to keep in mind. The Q150s don't do the mid-range nearly as well as the Scouts. The voices are fuzzier. Female vocals, just occasionally, they almost get a little laid back for a little trough, or some people call it a hole. It's just not natural or clear by any stretch of the imagination. And you can hear it. And really, the mid-range can't touch the Scouts. They just do a better job in that area. And the music lives in the mid-range. Therefore, if you're in a small space, such as my room, the Scouts can be, in my opinion, a better purchase. But when I took these into another room, and I took the KEFs into another room, the vocal differences, that mid-range difference did not change. The Scouts just are cleaner, more natural, warmer, and most importantly, non-fatiguing. You can listen to these all day long and not get kind of unsettled, itchy, needing to move. And at $299, that just doesn't happen. So what's the final score? For $299 a pair, The Vanguard Scouts from Vera-Fi Audio are an insanely good deal. I wish I could tell you how nice it is to hear a budget speaker that you don't get tired of listening to, that does the mid-range so very well. And if you want to hook up a sub, then it will just add to it. But just alone, they do a wonderful job. You know, they have something in them that touches the soul about how they perform. And that is what it's all about. So until next time, take care. And don't forget to like and subscribe to my channel.